Now that we've explored what a rational number is, we need to talk about how we would locate them on the number line. So we know how to locate integers on a number line. To locate rational numbers, think about what two integers or whole numbers the rational number lies between. So there are 4 steps that we can use to help us figure this out. So I'm going to go through the 4 steps and then I'm going to show you an example using the 4 steps. So step number 1. Step number 1 is to find the integers that the rational number lies between. Step number 2 is to graph a number line and label the integers. Remember again that integers are whole numbers. They can be positive or negative. Step number 3. Next, we are going to divide the distance between the integers into equal segments. So that means that we're going to break up the space in between each of our integers into even-sized pieces. And then finally, step number 4 is to use the segments to locate the rational number. So now that we've broken up the space in between our integers into equal segments, we'll be able to place our numbers on the number line. So let's go through these steps with an example. So let's locate 3/5 and a negative 2 and 4/10 on a number line. So remember, our first step is to find the integers that the rational number lies between. So first let's look at 3/5. So 3/5 I know is greater, it has to be greater than 0, but less than 1. So we know that it's going to be between 0 and 1. Looking at negative 2.4. Negative 2.4 we know is less than 0. And I know that it is even less than a 2. So I know it's less than a negative 2. Let me clarify. Less than negative 2. But it's not quite all the way down to negative 3. So, but it's more than a negative 3. So it's going to be between a negative 2 and a negative 3. So let's look at the next step. Alright, so the next step is to graph a number line and label the integers. So I'm going to try my best to make a nice number line on the screen, but I can't guarantee anything. No, that's not too bad. Alright, so let's label my integers. So I know that my greatest number had to be 1. So I'm going to have my left side be at 1, and then I'm going to work my way down to a negative 3 because I know that those were the integers I found in the previous step. So I have my number line. It goes from a negative 3 up to 1. So let's look at the next step. My next step, which I'm going to do in blue, is to divide the distance between the integers into equal segments. So before I do that, let's just rewrite the 2 numbers that I'm working with. So I'm working with 3/5 and a negative 2/4. So let's first take a look at my my 3/5, and let's divide this into, since the denominator is 5, let's divide this section between 0 and 1 into 5 equal pieces. I'm going to try my best to make them equal pieces. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal pieces in between 0 and 1. Now let's take a look at my negative 2/4. So I figured out earlier that my negative 2/4 was going to fall between a negative 2 and a negative 3. And since this is a decimal, I'm going to break this section up into 10 equal pieces. So I'm going to break it up into half, and then I'm going to try and get my 5 little lines. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I have too many. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I do. Whoops. Let's try that again. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, there we go. Now, let's look at the next step. All right, so now I've broken up each of the distance between each of my integers, which are my whole numbers, into equal segments, and I used the numbers that they gave me to break them up into helpful segments. So let's first take a look at 3/5, and now we're going to use these segments to locate these numbers. So our first one is going to be 3/5. So if I'm looking between my 0 and 1, I'm going to count up 1, 2, 3. So here is where I'm going to label 3/5. Now looking at a -2/4. So I'm going to start at my -2 and I'm going to count this way 4/10. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. And here's where I have a -2 and 4/10. And that is how we use these steps to locate rational numbers on a number line.